So we carry on our journey on trying to decode mobile marketing. This panel we have three professionals from what I'm calling FMCG companies. One is from banking, but the product he's going to talk about is more in the FMCG space. And we hope it's an enriching conversation. To begin with, Priya, tell me, how important is mobile marketing to you?
So I think it is today ubiquitous. So I think there's no question but to say, it is a part of the way consumers live, and therefore it's important to marketeers. So right. I think it's as simple as that. And I think you have incredible opportunities. I think if I was starting marketing many years ago, I would be thrilled because you have the opportunity to experiment so quickly and so live, which I would say when I started marketing 20 years ago, you didn't have those opportunities.
You had to wait 6 weeks for data to come in.
You would have to wait for many, many weeks. So I think it's just an incredible opportunity for young marketers
right.
today.
So I'll stay with you. Tell me some use cases where you think you've done things with mobile which you could not have done in another world.
So I think two different types of cases I'll talk about. The first, which of course much talked about, is the way to reach consumers who are unreached today, for which right. we set up our mobile radio channel, which we call Kaan Khajura Station. With that, we today reach about 40 million consumers who are hitherto unreached by traditional media, so to speak. And it's an entertainment channel for those consumers who otherwise don't receive entertainment. And of course, we have the opportunity to share work on our brand. So really an incredible opportunity with creating the mobile radio. It's been much talked about, but I think what isn't talked about is the fact that it's actually affects brand parameters, and that's what we measure. So it affects brand parameters. So I think there's a lot of work around that. And of course, at the other end of the spectrum, it's for used to reach and just with engagement. I think the opportunity to engage consumers, if you take a brand like Lakme, for example, the opportunity to reach those consumers with engagement, putting our fashion show out there into the hands of many, which is otherwise a very prestigious in the hands of few. So I think both different ends of the spectrum, but it's being used across the company.
Yeah. And how much time do you spend in a day on focusing on mobile plans?
I think it's now integrated. So right. I wouldn't say it's separate, but right. I think it's integrated. But I think we have a simple thing where we say no mobile, no meeting.
Okay, fantastic. What would you tell me?
So in our case, Godrej has many different kinds of businesses, and there are all of different scales and different degree of focus in terms of the consumers they want to reach.
Right.
And so for us, mobile wasn't so much.
So I'll just interrupt you there.
Sure.
Do all the brands use mobile?
All brands use to different extent.
Sure, but all use.
All of them use.
Whether it's 1/10 of 1% or 30% doesn't matter. All
correct,
use.
Correct,
right.
all use. Now, some do it through apps, some do it through just simply internet
data.
or mobile. So
right.
the nature of interaction is different. Now, when we were looking at this situation, and there is also a different consumer journey from the time you become aware of a product till actually buying it. And especially when you look at durables, they're bought at different frequencies. So between the time you communicate about the product and by the time somebody buys, there is a time elapse.
Right.
The other is that a lot of these are high inventory variation brands, like interior furniture, right? 30,000 units of furniture, you can't advertise each product. So a lot depends on inviting the consumers in to explore what we've got. So for us, mobile became a platform by which we could invite consumers in and explore what we've got. And as they select their way through, one is, of course, they get to the next stage of their consumer or purchase journey much faster. But also it started giving us a rich source of insights on not just product preferences or demand, but also on because of the response to media channels, even on media effectiveness. So we effectively got a click-through for things like television and radio that we could use.
Right.
So it became a good via media source for us to kind of bring a disparate bunch of products together.
Right. Karthi, you've just launched your bank app. Mm-hmm. And, I'm sticking on the app because a lot of people are focusing on the smartphone as opposed to the feature phone.
Sure.
Yeah. So, there are some who are taking a huge punt saying feature phones are irrelevant in a few years. So why waste time there? Put all your energy on smartphone. Somewhere that's what you're doing as well. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong in some sense.
Right.
This latest imperative obviously is based on the smartphone.
Right.
It works only with smartphones.
Right.
But we have in the past, and not very long ago, I think about 3 years ago, we've launched a version of our app which has SMS underneath, but it has skin like an app
right.
on top, which works on feature phones, and it works in 6 languages.
Right.
So in that sense, we've been, I'd like to think, ahead of the game in terms of not only being sensitive to feature phones, but also to the Bharat opportunity. And we've done that, and there is some traction for it. There isn't huge traction for it. So what learning there is, I think we have to process that. But we found actually in mobile for quite some time now. So for example, I would say about We launched our app itself in 2011. And even before that, when we discovered that 40% of the calls coming into our call centers were for people checking their balances, we cottoned on to somebody else's clever idea of the missed call, and we use the missed call as a service vehicle for balances. So you just give us a missed call, and I send you a text with all your account balances, and we save crores of rupees every year just with a simple innovation, which is not our innovation, but we're shameless
Happy to cheat it.
Shameless to copy.
Right.
Totally.
Anyway, carry on. So, tell me about 811 and what has happened in that journey, because that's...
So it's been early. 811's demonetization baby, and I think Kotak's been very privileged. Every reform that has happened in the country in financial services, we've managed to use it in some form or the other. In this case, it was the visionary regulator allowing us to do KYC remote via OTP, essentially with Aadhaar as the background. So if you bung in your Aadhaar number into my app, you get an OTP, you bung in the OTP, and then there are like 3 steps after that. Your bank account, full-fledged, is up and running. And we do have to come and see your face in your house eventually, but we have a full year to do that. Or you can walk into a branch and stick your thumb on the biometric machine and boom, it's done. So even before, honestly, opening a bank account wasn't really onerous. You just had to prove your identity and your address.
You had to go to a bank.
Or we all come to you. Right. And particularly challenger brands like ourselves will always come to you. But people always perceived it as a very onerous task, as lots of paperwork. I think what has changed with Aadhaar OTP is that now people see it as just downloading a bank, which has been quite remarkable. And it's just very, very early days. We just launched at the end of March.
Right.
But response is way ahead of what we had hoped for, honestly. So it's been quite fantastic.
Right. Priya, one wouldn't have thought of it, 2 years ago, but suddenly the buzz is FMCG sold on e-commerce, and therefore automatically it means using phones. So tell me about that journey. What are the product categories which sort of lend itself to working well, selling easily on e-com and mobile platforms?
No, I think anything the consumer wants to purchase today, from a pin to a television to whatever, is available on e-commerce. And I think from an FMCG, from a Unilever perspective, it's an incredible opportunity, because it's a segmented and targeted audience today, which we can reach with our range of products, which we otherwise didn't bring in, because we thought of it as a channel that would otherwise not be as segmented. I think with the segmentation that's emerged on e-commerce and the opportunity to look at things beyond what we sell in the mass audiences, I think it's an amazing opportunity for us. We've really invested ahead of the curve on e-commerce, and therefore we see it as something where we could really get consumers to interact with our brands, leave feedback on our brands, test brands. It's just an amazing opportunity for an FMCG business.
With that, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk to this panel of marketers and explore the challenges in the content area. These are challenges that everybody talks about. It's almost an elephant in the room. We talk about the explosion, but where's the content?